Hebrews. This is our Prophets of Awakening. This is our Wednesday night Bible class, the 20th of October, 2021. We'll be dealing with Judges chapter 2 and 3, breaking it down, explaining it. I'm asking everybody to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification button. This is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh is the Old Testament, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. I want to say shalom and welcome to everyone. We're going to do our moment of silence. We're going to do a prayer or psalms and then do some current event. Oh Lord, we come before you at this hour, praising you and honoring you because of your position both in heaven and upon the earth, a position in which the Creator Yahweh have given unto thee. Through your spirit and counsel, oh Lord, we have awakened. We have awakened to know who we are as a people and who you are as our Savior and our Redeemer. We are thankful for all that you have done, and we are eagerly searching your scriptures out that we may be in the right place at the right time upon your arrival to this planet. Lord, I pray to thee that you continue to let your light shine down upon us in spirit and in truth. We love you. We seek you daily, O Lord. There is none else besides thee to redeem us. We see you in our affairs of the world, and we faithfully await your deliverance. Peace be unto you. Okay. I'm going to do Psalms. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do Psalms 29. It's a Psalm of David. It says, it's the voice of the Lord in the storm. Give unto the Lord, O ye mighty. Give unto the Lord glory and strength. Give unto the Lord the glory due unto his name. Worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness. The voice of the Lord is upon the waters. God of glory thundereth. The Lord is upon many waters. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is full of majesty. The voice of the Lord breaketh the cedars. Yea, the Lord breaketh the cedars of Lebanon. He maketh them also to skip like a calf. Lebanon and Syria like a young unicorn. The voice of the Lord divideth the flames of fire. The voice of the Lord shaketh the wilderness. The Lord shaketh the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of the Lord maketh the hinds to calve, and discovereth the forest. And in his temple doeth everyone speak of his glory. The Lord sitteth upon the flood. Yea, the Lord sitteth king forever. The Lord will give strength unto his people. The Lord will bless his people with peace. So that's Psalms 29, the voice of the Lord in the storm. Anybody got anything, comments on that? Oh. Okay. Okay, yeah, so like I said before in a previous video of Psalms, it talks about how you break with the cedars, the trees. And if you understand that, you go to Daniel, right quick. Says, let me get it. 10, Daniel chapter 10. It says that verse 6. when Daniel met the Lord of hosts, it says, his body also was like beryl, and his face as lightning, as appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like the color of polished brass, and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. So with this, we know about the thunder and the lightning. So that's what they're talking about. So when you go back here to Psalm 29, verse 5, it says, the voice of the Lord breaketh the cedars, like the Lord, the Lord breaketh the cedars of Lebanon. So when you understand when lightning is real bad and fierce, it strikes the trees and breaks them in half. And that's what they're talking about. That's why when he came to and spoke to the Israelites, when they asked Moses to bring him where he was at, when he started talking, they couldn't deal with it. So they told Moses, let him go back where he came from. We'll talk to you. You talk to him. They was afraid. Okay. Wrong. Anybody got anything else on that song? It's 29. Okay. Anybody got any current events? Okay. Yeah, we see right here. Can anybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna play this right here, then we'll talk about
colossal buildup of container ships off the coast of Los Angeles.
These those
And it just keeps getting worse. A record 100 ships are now waiting to unload desperately needed supplies. But you haven't seen this. What happens after the containers are unloaded?
I'm at a massive distribution center in Los Angeles where they're trying to get goods from the port to companies. These boxes contain clothing bound for Costco, but now comes a dire warning for all companies. The backlog is so severe, it could take through next year just to catch up. As for the White House promise to operate the ports 24/7, the manager here says it's not even close to happening.
Can't just turn it on like a switch. You have to shift manpower. I don't think there's enough labor at the ports right now. Qualified longshoremen to cover three shifts.
Another problem.
Hundreds of empty shipping containers. These shipping containers are piling up. This is one of over 400 empty containers
Ready to go back.
back to China. They can't until the
gridlock at the
port is over.
Okay. So you see the drama that it's just get worse and worse. Any comment? Okay. This right here is not good either. Okay, I'm in the wrong place. Okay.
And welcome to the Grand Supreme News Channel. Before I start, guys, give this video a big thumbs up and share this video. We got some breaking news updates, and it says here the ongoing supply chain crisis just reached a new level, and the 4-6 is considering dispatching the National Guard for help. Now, I talked about this. National Guard will be deployed across the country, right? Because of all this crisis going on that the 4-6 has created. Now, I want to show you something really quick, right? The press secretary, Jen, she was giving a very important update about the supply chain, right? And in the middle of Jen briefing, it cuts to a live feed, La Palma volcano footage for 2 minutes. And it goes back to the press secretary conference. Now, is there a possibility that we might see something in La Palma? Possibly a mega tsunami for the eastern part of the U.S. Now, I'm not trying to scare no one here, but I mean, we are seeing something big here, right? And not only that, Japan volcano has erupted. It was so big, it was so bad. Look, I posted a video in my other channel, and YouTube didn't send out the notification. They're trying to hide all this volcano stuff going on around the world. Now, I posted the video. You guys, give me a second here. Here we go. So I posted a video, right? And I will leave this link in the comments box if you want to check it out. So the sea is giving up the ships. The sea is giving up the ships. And the Bible says there will be burning mountains in various places. There will be famines and pestilence in various places. There will be earthquakes in various places. Now, Jesus said, when you see these signs, know that I am here. All right? Jesus is coming soon. Now, the Bible also said that the sea,
put it on record, disregard it,
will also give up the dead. When Jesus comes, those that are asleep, those that died in battleground war in the ocean, Christ-like people that died in various places around the world, they will rise, and Jesus will take them. And those who are alive on earth will also be raptured up along with them. So the sea will give up the dead. The land will give up the dead. And so I believe this is a sign that something big is coming. A lot of stuff. Now, the Bible said that you should be sober. You should be sober and vigilant. Now, what if the juice thing is to keep you not clean? I'm saying that people need to start staying away from the things of the world, and you need to be clean and sober. All right, so let me just take you to this video really quick. Right now, just listen to this one here.
Watch how you slide this in right here. I'll keep on bringing this up as much as I can.
Declare a national emergency. The military company.
Declare a national emergency. Deploy the military, and it went straight to this feed. This was a live feed that took place while Press Secretary Jen was giving a very important update on the supply chain, right? And it went to this feed.
Declare a national emergency. The military company.
Declare a national emergency. So give me a second here, guys. Give me a second. Truly apologize. All right. So we'll declare a national emergency and deploy military. And this video was posted back on October 13, 2021. That was like 10 days ago. 10 days ago. With all the volcanoes erupting and then supply chains, you got all them ships out there, right? There's a lot of ships, a lot of ship out there. La Palma crisis, all these crisis volcanoes and earthquake, right? The book of Revelation, when the second angel blows his trumpet, something burning like a mountain will fall into the ocean, and ships will be wiped out. Anything in its path will be wiped out. Now, I'm not saying those ships off California coast will be wiped out. All I'm saying is there's a lot of volcanoes erupting. In Ecuador, there's a volcano that erupted. Also, you have one in Peru, right? You have one in Japan. You have one Italy, I think it is, in Alaska. You have one in Hawaii. You have La Palma, Cumbre Vieja, Canaanite Island. You have Iceland. You have a lot of stuff going on. They are saying, it's due to climate stuff. No, it is the signs of the heavens. Jesus said that the heavens and the earth will shake. It is a gravitational pull, and it is the sun releasing massive solar flare. You can, of course, man is going to deceive. The world's going to deceive many people, right? They're going to juice up a lot of people. And, look, Jesus said, stay away from the things of the world. Be clean. Be sober. Be vigilant. Seek for my Father's kingdom. People better start preparing themselves spiritually, because Jesus is coming and something is going on. Something is taking place right now. Military going to be deployed across the country. Something big is coming. Before I start, give this video a big thumbs up. Share this video with your friends, families, and loved ones. I appreciate the love and support. And for those of you that want to contribute to the channel, once again, the PayPal link and the Patreon link is in the description box. Also, $1 a month Patreon will get you access to our live stream every Saturday. We talk about things that we cannot talk about in this form. Also, I posted a video today. That link will be in the comments box along with this article. Now, do me a favor. Please share this video right here. Share this video if you can. I will leave this link in the comments box. I just posted that video today. Now, let me just refresh it, right? Let's see where's that right now, right?
Okay. Any comments on that?
Sound like judgment to me.
Okay. Yeah, that's big. They're going to be getting ready to deploy the National Guard and Reserves in all the cities, all the states.
Yeah, and all them nations in Psalms 83 that put their hand on Israel, you know.
Right.
It's imagine what he gonna do to this place.
Is that song? Yeah, that's crazy, Andy. They ain't looking good. Okay. So what I'm gonna do right here is I'm gonna open it up for anybody got any questions, and I got some stuff I'm gonna deal with when pertaining to Genesis 15 and 16 about the Amorites. I'm trying to keep everybody up to par on this on different topics. Any questions or comments about anything that you came across, or you need an answer to, or you want to talk about? Okay. Yeah. So what I'm dealing with is Genesis. We just keep coming up. So I'm just trying to put as much information out as I can on it. It's Genesis 15, verse 16. Let me read it right quick. It says 15 says, Genesis 15 and 15, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. It's talking to Abraham. Thou shalt be buried in old age. And 16, but in the fourth generation thou shalt come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. So I got a couple of videos with some information about the Amorites and the Canaanites and the land of Canaan, and what kind of religion they had during that time. So we can get a better understanding of what he's talking about.
I am making a video on the Canaanites. Here we have a map of where Canaan is approximately located geographically. If you look at another map, you see it covers the area of Palestine, Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. Now, the Canaanite civilization goes back to approximately 3000 BC. And it's not really one civilization. Obviously, Canaan refers to an area of the world, a piece of geography. And it begins with the Amorites. They were known as the Martu by the Sumerians and the Amaru by the Akkadians. Now, you see this repeated process in this area of the world where basically you have a more civilized, settled group of people, then they then get invaded by a more barbarous group of people. The barbarian invaders then settle, and then they become civilized. And then later on, they get invaded as well. So you see this repeated back and forth in this area, not constant, but repeated warfare, conquest, reconquest, a cycle of invasion, civilization, invasion, and so on. And this process pretty much continues until the second millennium BC, when the Israelites enter Canaan, and then they begin their invasion and settlement. So what we see here is basically tension and symbiosis between two types of religious ideas. Because remember, we're focusing on the religion of Canaan and not so much the history of the Canaan region. But specifically here, we're seeing a symbiosis and tension between agricultural fertility or agrarian fertility cults, such as this depiction, and also the nomadic pastoralists. So they actually had different religions, as we'll see, for example, with Baal, a very famous god known in the Bible. He's often depicted as a cattle connection there. So you see.
So what he said so far is that two different religions. The Israelites, their culture, and the God they was dealing with, and then the Canaanite God. So we see right here, back in Genesis, when the Israelite came into the land, it's two different religions going on. And we're going to break them down.
See this connection and symbiosis between these two religious strains, the agrarian and the nomadic pastoralist. So these cults were dominated by celestial and astral divinities, and there'll be new intensity with the settlement of the Hebrews later in Canaan. Now, when it comes to the data that we have about this region of the world, Ugarit and the discoveries that were found in Ras Shamra are integral in helping us understand the religious ideas and the mythology of this region of the world. The settlement was found, looks like it was roughly between 1450 and 1200 BC. So this gives us a lot of information about this time period, and it's important to understand that while we can extrapolate from the data that we find in Ugarit, Ugarit does not represent all of Canaan. All right, so that's an important caveat to understand. But because of this, the tablets and whatnot that we found there, we are able to determine a lot of information, particularly with the pantheon of Canaan. So El, which is the Semitic word for God, so this is used in the Bible as well, but in the Ugarit pantheon, El was the supreme being. He was the head of the pantheon. His name means God, but again, among the Western Semites, he is a personal deity. He was called powerful, bull, father of gods and man. He's holy, merciful, and very wise. He had two wives, and you'll recognize one of them.
So you notice right here, we know who this is. It's Lucifer, Samuel, aka Samuel. Notice, same like I said, everything is copied. They calling him El. They calling him all powerful and all that. But notice right here, this is where the woman thing came in at. Check it out.
Asherah. If you're a Bible geek, Asherah is mentioned in the biblical text. This is a depiction of Asherah. And also his other wife was Anath.
So let's look at this. So he said, so they got wives. These angelic beings right here. You're going to see in a minute, he's going to tell you that he dwelled on a mountain. And that's where these Canaanites, these Amorites going to eat up on these mountains, worshiping these Els, the angels. But watch this. So he got two wives. So let's look at it. I'm in Genesis 6. Genesis chapter 6 says, verse 1, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, daughters were born unto them. That the sons of God saw, these angels, Els, saw that the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives. That's where they're getting the wives from. That's where the women come into play at. Same with Zeus. He's doing the same thing, same being. We're gonna see how many children he got. So we see right here, this is where it's coming from. Y'all ain't got no wife. This is where it's coming from right here.
And this is a picture of a nav. Now, the main relationship is between El and Asherah. Between these two, she fathered 70 deities, or 70 gods, all with the exception of...
Notice it was 70 gods that talk about
Baal. So Baal was not produced from that relationship. Baal, again, very famous deity, and he ended up seizing one of El's wives, but we'll discuss that a little bit further. But you see now the connection. So at the top you have El. El has 2 wives, Asherah and Anath. Then there's 70 gods. Baal is through a different relationship. And a lot of the mythology will obviously center around Baal. Now, in myth, El appears weak, indecisive, and senile. His 2 wives are taken from him by Baal, the replacement of an old god creator and cosmo-creator god by a more dynamic.
So I think what's the New Testament say? Jesus came in and Jesus replaced the God in the Old Testament. See that? It's all Amorite. It's all Amorite. So,
Young god, specialized in cosmic fertility, is a frequent phenomenon. It's something that we see many times in various mythological systems. Often the creator becomes a deus odiosus, so again, an idol god. Basically, El withdraws from creation, and the focus in worship is given more towards Baal and other divinities. Now, Baal is the son of Dagon, Dagon. And Dagon...
He's the son. They go to the son of God right there. See that? Where the son of God come from. So, he said he's the son of Dagon. Well, that's the God, that's what the Pope is. When he get all dressed up and duded all up in his little religious gab, he got the thing on Dagon. And Baal is his son. See that?
Signifies grain, so there's a connection with Baal and grain. He was venerated in the third millennium in Upper and Middle Euphrates.
All this happened in
Baal was known as Master. That's literally what his name means, Master. And this became his personal name. But his proper name is Hadu, or Hadad. He is called the Rider of the Clouds, Prince, Master of the Earth. He is the source and principle of fertility.
Let's look at that. Say he's the Rider of the Clouds. Let's look at it on the 2 Samuel right quick. So we see the time when the Amorites is still caught up in it. Okay. I'm in 2 Samuel right quick. Verse 23, I think in chapter 23. It says he's the rider on the clouds. That's what it says. Baal is. So it says right here, David says that verse 4, starting at verse 4, says, David says, I will call upon the Lord who is worthy to be praised. It's the Lord of hosts. So shall I be saved from my enemies. When the waves of death compass me, the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. The sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me from ascending. In my distress, I called upon the Lord. I cried to my God, and he did hear my voice out of his temple. And my cry did enter into his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations of heaven moved and shook because he was wroth. There went up a smoke out of his nostrils, fire out of his mouth. The fire was cold and kindled. He bowed the heavens also, when he came down, and darkness was under his feet. And he rode, see that? He rode upon a cherubim, and he did fly. He was seen upon the wings of the wind. Same thing, they just stuck it over there on Baal. Okay?
But also a warrior.
You're a warrior.
Anath, his sister and wife, is the goddess of love.
Sister and wife.
So Anath is here, or Anat is another.
And notice the sister and wife, and this, she the goddess of love. They bring in all this feminine stuff. Like they saying that when the flowers, the Most High created the heavens and earth, it had to be a woman there with the flowers. Like y'all can't make flowers. Yahweh can't, he made everything else, but he can't make the flowers. Come on. This is where it's coming from right here. Amorites. Read this.
Another one variant of that, the goddess of love and war. And we'll see that she's quite a terrifying being. Now, in addition, we have Yam. Yam
Nimrod got a wife.
Is, and this is obviously a more contemporary depiction, he is, we'll go into him a little bit more later, but he is the prince of the sea. He is a significant figure in mythology. And also, this is not really a depiction of a god, but this is the territory of Ma'at. He is the god of death, and he is the only case in the Middle Eastern early or ancient religious system where death is portrayed as a personal deity. This is sort of an exception here. But much of the stories in Canaan mythology and Ugaritic mythology center between combats between Baal and El, and Baal and Yam and Ma'at. So there's a significant myth where Baal and his confederates attack El by surprise in his palace on Mount Sapin.
Yeah.
He is bound and wounded.
That Mount Sapin. Mountain. You're on a mountain. They're all on a mountain.
Now the text, the Ugaritic text here is mutilated, but it appears that El was castrated. It seems that he becomes impotent.
Osiris was castrated.
Baal carries off his wife, which is in that culture a sign of domination and subjugation. Baal usurps his throne, and El must take refuge at the end of the world. So we have this process of the supreme god in an older pantheon now having to withdraw, and he's on the fringe and the periphery of the religious system. El, in his anguish, laments, and he asks Yam for help. This is this seven-headed deity. Yam comes to his aid. El blesses him and gives him a new name. He says that Yam is his successor. So he urges Yam to basically go and avenge him by attacking Baal. Yam and Baal then go into battle. And there's a part in this where the divine blacksmith, Kashar wa Hasis, who's known as the adroit and skillful, brings two magical cudgels. And the first one strikes Yam on the shoulder, and the second one strikes him on the forehead. Baal finishes him off, and the goddess Aftart asks he be dismembered and his corpse scattered. So this is somewhat, I'm not sure if there's a direct parallel with Egypt, but this concept here of the deity being dismembered is a pretty common motif in various mythologies. So to go back to Yam, again, Yam is portrayed as a god and demon. He is the son loved by El. He is an aquatic monster, a seven-headed dragon. He is called the Prince of the Sea. He is the principle and epiphany of the subterranean waters. Baal's victory over Yam signified...
Let's look at that. because I kept showing you. I was showing you how in Enoch and in the Jasher and a couple of places in the Adam and Eve, these angels, these fallen angels, coming up out of the sea. They're coming up out of the sea. So we got this 7-headed thing right here. Well, let's look at that right there. So I'm in Daniel again. And like I said, all this ain't no coincidence. It's just a matter of following the information. So, it says, let me get it. It says the four beasts, which said for Daniel 7:19. Then I will know the truth of the fourth beast, which diverged from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were iron and nails of brass, which devour and break in pieces, and stomp the residue of his feet, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, before whom 3 fell, even that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose looks were more stout than his fellow. So we know right here this beast right here had 10 horns. He had 7 heads but 10 horns. So this thing right here, we're talking about that it's a prince of the sea, got 7 heads, and it's a dragon. Same in Revelation.
As the triumph of rain over sea, it signifies the rhythm of rain representing the cosmic norm. It replaces the chaotic and sterile immensity of the sea and catastrophic floods. So in other words, Baal's victory marks confidence in order and stability of the seasons. On the other hand,
so let's look at that. So she said that when this thing right here came about the water, he overtook the previous God that was already there, and he calmed the sea down and calmed the rain down, and symbolizing that he then took over. Ain't that what JC did in the New Testament on the water? He came, calmed the water down. He was thunder and lightning. He calmed the sea. He did all that. And so, like I was saying before, the people that know about all this, they know what all that means. But we don't have no clue. We finding out now, but they knew all along who he was and what he symbolized and all that. And the Most High, he don't operate like that. He don't operate no allegories and all that. That's what the New Testament is. Okay.
the battle with aquatic dragon, such as the Yam, illustrates the emergence of a young goddess champion and hence a new sovereign. Now, in order to celebrate his victory over the dragon Yam, Anath gives a banquet in Baal's honor. But soon after, the goddess shuts the doors of the palace and, succumbing to homicidal fury, she kills everyone. So this is the palace. Baal actually constructed a palace, and then in this moment of insanity, this is actually a depiction of the goddess Durga, or rather Kali, I'm sorry. This is a depiction of Kali, but similar connecting motif here. Anath, in this banquet celebrating Baal's victory, closes the door, kills everybody. The blood rises to her knees. She girdles herself with heads and hands of the victims. When she finds Baal's lifeless body, she laments by eating his flesh without knife and drinking his blood without cup. I mean, what a gruesome, grotesque image there.
See that?
And again, this picture of Kali just really connects it here. But you can just imagine her with the dead god Baal's lifeless form as she's consuming his flesh and drinking his blood. absolutely remarkable.
Okay, so
Now, Anath, we said, was the goddess of love and war. And it is because of her brutal and sanguine behavior that Anath, like other goddesses of love and war, were given male attributes and hence regarded as bisexual. So
see that?
they possess both masculine and feminine elements,
laid it
and
all out.
oftentimes they're thought in this bisexual way. Anath can be classed among elements common to ancient agricultural civilizations. The carnage and cannibalism are characteristic features of fertility goddesses. Okay, this is quite common in mythology. Now, what's interesting here is that although Baal is not a deity that dies and resurrects, his appearances in Ugaritic mythology are circular, meaning he sort of just reappears. It's never really explained what happens, but there is, rather than this resurrection, there's this circularity that goes on between him. So he reappears in the mythology, and now he battles Mot, and Mot is the god of death. So after constructing Baal's temple palace, Baal seeks to confront Mot, which is death. Mot is the son of El. He reigns over the subterranean world. So this is contemporaneous, or rather relatively contemporaneous depiction of the underworld. Mot reigns in the underworld. He sits on his throne in mud, but Baal sends messengers to Mot because he wants to confront him, but he warns his messengers not to get too close to Mot, or Mot may consume them with it. But in the interest of the myth goes beyond its possible connections with the rhythm of vegetation. In fact, these touching and sometimes spectacular events reveal to us a specific mode of divine existence, particularly a mode of being that includes defeat and death, disappearance, by burial, in the case of Baal, or by dismemberment, in the case of Mot, followed by more or less periodical reappearances. This type of existence, at once intermittent and circular, recalls the modality of the gods who govern the cycle of vegetation. However, this is a new religious creation, which aims at integrating certain negative aspects of life into a unified system of antagonistic rhythms. In the last analysis, Baal's combats with his defeats and his victories ensure him the sovereignty of heaven and earth. But Yam continues to reign over the sea, and Mot remains lord over the subterranean world of the dead.
Okay. Any comments?
Man, I knew. I mean, when I used to read the New Testament, you could tell it was gay.
Right, exactly. And you can see where it coming from now. Now you can see exactly where it came from.
Right.
Yeah. I'll play a little more. This is another video. Play a little more of this, and then
Hope all's well on your end, and welcome to this particular episode of the History with Sai podcast.
lesson.
Today I want to talk about a subject that I know many of you are interested in, especially after watching the recent series on ancient Canaan, and that's religion in the ancient Canaanite world, or at least some aspects of it. It's a pretty broad topic, which we won't be able to cover in its entirety over here, but for those of you not too familiar with the subject, this podcast should give you a good foundation from which to learn more. So, let's get started. As we defined in past programs, what we call Canaan and the Levant several thousand years ago was a geographically, economically, and especially politically diverse region that included all sorts of people. While many lived a rather nomadic or pastoral existence in small agricultural communities, ancient Canaan and the Levant are also where some of the world's first cities developed. In many ways, the world of ancient Canaan wasn't too different than that of the modern nation states that occupy the same land today. Just think for a moment how different the modern political entities of Israel, the Palestinian territories, Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan are from one another.
So I want to shine a light on something right quick. So he talking in circles because he want to say that this is a place where some of the cities, some of the cities, original cities was built there. So we're gonna go into the Bible. I'm gonna read something right quick and pin this down. So so he making it in a roundabout way. So it says. Says chapter 4, verse 16, this Cain. It says in the very beginning. It says, and Cain went out from the presence of the Lord, and he dwelled at Nod, right? East of Eden, same place he just talked about. Canaan, the land of Canaan, the Levant, Syria, that whole area region, same region right here. East of Eden. Cain went and he says, Cain went out from the presence of the Lord out of the garden, dwelt in the land of Nod, east of Eden, that's the Middle East. And Cain knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and bore Enoch. And he built a city, called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. So these Cain descendants, they built cities. These are cities we're talking about. We're going about it in a roundabout way, but this is where the city building started at. East of Eden, same land, Canaan at. This is where Cain started building the cities at. Okay.
If you were to visit the different countries in this region, you'd pretty much notice right away that they're different culturally, politically, and even ethnically. This diversity obviously applies to religion as well. In a broad sense, the people are divided up into Muslims, Christians, Jews, Druze, Alawites, and other lesser-known groups. But even within these, there are seemingly countless denominations. It's pretty amazing just how many strands of belief exist in a relatively small area along the eastern Mediterranean coast. So, just like the area is extremely diverse today, the same was also true several thousand years ago during the Bronze Age, which in Canaan and the Levant was roughly between 3300 to about 1200 BCE. Of course, religion in the region existed well before this time, but for our purposes here, we're going to start in the 3rd millennium BCE, when the first written and material remains of Canaanite and Levantine religion start to show up in the archaeological record with greater frequency. There are many early sites that shed light on Canaanite religious beliefs and practices. The earliest written records that we have from this region come from the ruins of what was once the city of Ebla, today in northwestern Syria. Texts found there from around 2500 BCE show close ties with the Sumerian civilization of Mesopotamia, especially the city-states of Kish and Ur. Thus, they might not be the best representations of indigenous Canaanite religious beliefs and practices. However, the site of Tel Ras Shamra on the Syrian coast, what was once the very cosmopolitan port city of Ugarit, does shed some light on early religion in the Levant. Now, there are many scholars out there who do not believe that Ugarit is a Canaanite city, and honestly, I'm not here to argue with them. However, it's pretty obvious that many of the people there practiced some form of popular Canaanite religion, as can be seen from the approximately 1,500 cuneiform tablets that have been discovered there. For our purposes here, we're going to include it as an honorary Canaanite city, since much of what we know about Canaanite religion and culture actually comes from the texts that were discovered there. Other Bronze Age sites that have helped archaeologists and scholars unlock the mysteries of Canaanite religion include Hatzor, Lachish, Megiddo, Gezer, Ain Dara, and Alak, just to name a few. While religious beliefs and practices varied by region, there were some overall characteristics that most of them shared, which will be the focus in this program. Like believers of other religious traditions, especially those of ancient Mesopotamia, Canaanites believed their gods and goddesses, along with other deities, actually inhabited the world in which humans lived in. These gods were ever present in all of the phenomena that took place in the world, whether it was some mundane matter or a cataclysmic event. Everything from the birth of a newborn child Sickness, drought, a rainstorm, a flood, sunshine, or an earthquake, for better or for worse, was the doing of some deity. The gods, goddesses, and lesser spirits were always at work in the world. This, though, didn't mean that they were necessarily entangled within it. Being divine, and in most cases immortal, they were well above and beyond mere humans. Even though they technically did inhabit the world, they generally lived at its fringes. For example, at the top of a faraway, unclimbable mountain, or well into the distant horizon, where heaven and earth met. The god Baal, the patron of the city of Ugarit and a popular Canaanite and later Phoenician deity, had his mythological palace on Mount Zephon, the peak that locals today call Jebel al-Akra. His father, El, was said to live at the source of two cosmic rivers at the end of the universe. Such locations made the gods generally out of the reach of humans, though as we'll soon see, there were ways in which men, women, and children could commune with these higher powers. Though I said that the gods and goddesses of ancient Canaan were above and beyond humans, they still had many human-like characteristics. Their bodies, though larger and often with special features, such as an extra set of eyes or arms, were pretty much like human bodies. They were capable of thought and could be quite stubborn with wills of their own. And, like humans, they were emotional creatures. The main and most obvious differences between the gods and humanity had to do with their greater power as well as permanence. Gods and goddesses were mostly immortal. They were generally, though not always, more intelligent.
Okay, so let's look at that. So I'm showing you this for a reason. So we know that Canaan and Cain, those people were sent away from the Creator. So they would see these things, they would deal with these things, and they dealing with them from a ignorant perspective. They don't have the understanding of how to rightly divide what was going on. Whereas Israelites, and we see the scriptures, they already know, they know exactly how everything operates. But these people don't know how it operates. So we know that that's how these fallen angels operate. They operate under deception. But you know, they can't come in. I mean, like I said, what Lucifer did to Adam, when you read it in the book Adam and Eve, all the things he did to him was because Adam was he was formed full grown. He ain't had no childhood. So he's a big old virgin, ignorant to a lot of stuff. And so Lucifer was able to hoodwink him, but we know that Adam schooled Seth. And when he came to Seth knew how to deal with him. Because of all the things that he had done to Adam had told Seth about it. Same thing with these people. These fallen angels going to these other people, these races of people that's outside of the understanding of heaven and all that, and these angels, and they manipulate them through deceit, a lack of understanding, lack of knowledge. And that's where all this Amorite worship and all that came from lack of understanding of what they were dealing with and where they came from, and the whole whole construct of that whole thing. They was dealing with them out of ignorance. That's how you got these religions. Okay, so like I was saying, I was showing you how that the other side of that, you know, when they talk about that Yahweh got a wife and all that, it's come from here. These people they're ignorant. They have ignorance. It's ignorance, you know. And then we know that these angelic beings and their whole reason they on the earth is because they came down and started sleeping with women and took them wives, which is what angelic beings aren't supposed to do. So that's why you see Zeus with children and wives, and Baal and all them got wives because they came down here. That's the whole reason why they in the predicament they in, because they came down and crossed over, left their estate, first estate, he came down here. And that's where it's coming from. Okay, so And then hollering about they got a son. He got a son, you know, yeah, all them got sons. So when the Most High did what he did with when the Most High did what he did with those angels, when he sent Michael and those 6 angels down to bind those 200 angels that came down, he said, before you bind them, make sure you let them see you destroy their sons. These the ones, they the ones got sons, and they got sons illegally, because they don't supposed to be going into women. So that's where this come from. That's where the Son of God come from, and all that is because of what these fallen angels did and what they introduced on the earth. Isaiah and Jeremiah and all them, they know y'all had no son, hid nowhere, no bosom nowhere. They knew better than that. That's why you don't hear none of them talking about it, because he ain't had no son. You hear about it because they got Hotel records, and Israel was denigrated as a nation and sent off in the corner over at the west coast of Africa. Then they came in with their terminology. At the Council of Nicaea, Ebus, or Caesarea, and Constantine. That's how all this stuff came into play to the point where we've been. He said, let me tell you, let me read this. This is what he's talking about right here. It's after Israel was cast off. And Daniel tell you right here. Let me get it. Just trying to make it connect some dots, make it make sense. So it says, Daniel chapter 9. It says, Daniel 9:26, and after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off, but not for himself, the people of the prince that shall come. The people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, that's the temple. Jerusalem, they're going to destroy Jerusalem and the temple, and the end there shall be with a flood, right? And unto the end, wars and desolations and determined. So this flood he's talking about is knowledge. They came in with a flood of knowledge, just deceitful knowledge came in. That's what Antioch Epiphanes did. He came, he said, anybody they found, let's look at it. I'm in the Apocrypha. Right quick. It says, First Maccabees. First Maccabees, it says, I'm in First Maccabees, chapter 1, I'm down at verse 11. It says, in those days, this is when Antioch Epiphanes came. In those days, there arose out of Israel lawless men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a treaty with the heathen round about us. For ever since the time that we became separated from them, many misfortunes have overtaken us. And the plan seemed good in their eyes, and some of the people went eagerly to the king and authorized them to see that the king, this king is Antioch Epiphanes, that's over in Daniel, and he authorized them, to introduce the practices of the heathen. That's what we're looking at right here, practices of the heathen. And they built a gymnasium in Jerusalem in the heathen fashion and submitted to uncircumcision and disowned the holy agreement and aligned themselves with the heathen and became the slaves of wrongdoing. And when his rule appeared to Antiochus to be established, he conceived an idea of becoming king of the land of Egypt, so that he might reign over 2 kingdoms. So he entered into Egypt with a strong force, and with chariots and with elephants and a cavalry and a great fleet. And he made war on Ptolemy, king of Egypt. And Ptolemy turned and fled before him, and many fell wounded. And they captured the walled cities in Egypt, and they plundered the land of Egypt. After subduing Egypt in the 143rd year, Antiochus turned back, came up against Israel, entered into Jerusalem with a strong force, and in his arrogance he went into the sanctuary and took the gold altar, the lampstand, and the light, and all the furniture, and the table for showbread, and all this is taken out of scriptures. So, and the cups, and the bowls, and the gold censers, and the curtains, and the crowns, gold ornaments on the front of the temple, for he stripped it all off. And he took the silver and the gold and the choice dishes. He took the secret treasures which he had found, and he took them all and went back to his own country. He massacred people and spoke with great arrogance, right? So we're going to keep going. I'm trying to get something going somewhere. So it says, okay, yeah, here you go. It says, I'm in verses 41. Chapter 1, verse 41. It says, and the king wrote to his whole kingdom that they should all become one people, intermingle, and everyone should give up his particular practices, and all the heathens ascended to the command of the king, and many from Israel agreed to this kind of worship, and they offer sacrifice. This the Canaanites, the Amorites worship right here. What we going over. It says offer sacrifices to idols. See that? That's what the Canaanites do, and Amorites, and broke the Sabbath. And the king sent word by messengers to Jerusalem and to the towns of Judah to follow practices foreign to their country, and he put a stop to whole burnt offerings and sacrifices of the drink offerings and the sanctuary, and to break the Sabbath and to profane the feast and pollute the sanctuary, to build altars and sacred precincts and idol temples, and sacrifice hogs and unclean cattle, and to leave their sons uncircumcised and defile themselves with every unclean, profane practice, so they might, look at this, so that they might forget the law, change all their religious ordinances, see that? And anyone who did not obey the king should die. And he wrote to his whole kingdom to this effect, and he appointed inspectors over the people, and he wrote and he ordered the towns of Judah, every one of them, to offer sacrifices. And many of the people and everyone who was ready to forsake the law joined them, and they did wrong in the land and forced Israel to hide in every hiding place, hiding places they had. Okay, I'm trying to find something else. Just so we see right here, just the flood he talking about. The flood in Daniel that came in with, oh, here you go right here. So it says, on the 15th day of Chesim, in the 145th year, he erected a dreadful desecration upon the altar. And in the towns of Judah round about, they built altars. And at the doors of their houses and in the squares, they burned incense. And wherever they found, here go the flood. Wherever they found the book of the law, they tore it up and burned them. And anyone who was found to possess a book of the law, or a book of the agreement, or respected the law, the king decreed, condemned them to death. So this the flood he's talking about. They came in, attacked the law, got rid of all the books. You can't be found with that, and then they came in with their knowledge. That's the flood he's talking about. Flood of knowledge, wicked knowledge. Knowledge from these Amorites, the Canaanites that was in the land before they got there. And the Greeks. Okay. Any comments on that?
Hey, Glenn.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the sins of the Amorites. Like today, you know, JC, they drinking his blood, they worshiping him as God.
Right.
I mean, his idol crosses everywhere. What you think is more higher today than it was ever been?
Yeah, because there's more people on the planet, more people on the earth. So that's what he was talking about when he said, in Sodom and Gomorrah, as the time went on and more people was being born, he said the sins reached up to heaven. So same thing now. And I think it was in place. Yeah, it's in the book of Enoch. He says it's a group of angels that comes out every day with robes. and they measure the sin on earth. And it's a certain, every time when you see different events happen on earth, that sin gets to a certain point and the Most High judge it. Talk about that in the book of Enoch. Okay. Anybody else have any comments or questions or anything on what we just talked about? Okay, I got a little need to know information right here before I start reading out of Judges. This is kind of go along with what we just talked about Canaanites and the Amorites and connecting them dots to what they were doing, actually doing this one time when Israel came into the land.
Sometimes I use pictures as placeholders before I actually show you a video clip or something. And I selected this one because the one thing that if you haven't noticed about all of these exclusion of the individuals, the way things are going on the planet, they do tell you about their actions, things that they plan on doing. They do make you aware of them before they actually do it. If you're not paying attention, you miss it. Secondly, then, I've mentioned in one of my other videos too about the word demon and where it comes from. I showed you from the Aramaic lexicon.
Can you hear that?
That the word demon is not English. It comes from the Aramaic.
It's kind of low.
Yeah, I got it all the way up. I guess you recorded it low.
Gentiles, specifically children of the angels. This is what indigenous humans, the descendants of Adam, refer to them as demons. It's spelled various ways. The current way of spelling it is D-E-M-O-N. It is also spelled D-E-A-M-A-N and the other way. They do things esoterically, but they lie to you. Give you one definition for a word and it means something else completely different.
So see what she's saying. This is like a second witness. The Canaanite religion and the Amorites and all that, they dealt with esoteric stuff. And so here we are, Hebrew Israelites, and we're trying to read our book, but we're trying to read it from an esoteric perspective. That's like when they send you to seminary, that's what they're doing. They got you trying to read this and break it down from an esoteric perspective when they ain't got nothing to do with us. And that's where the drama coming in at. That's why they can't, so many things that's Most High revealing now, they ain't getting it because they can't find them in their mind because they trying to look at it from an esoteric perspective when they ain't got nothing to do with us as Israelites. Most High says that, like I just showed you, they're going to flood. They're going to come in with a flood of wicked knowledge and overtake and get rid of his knowledge. And then you go to the first Maccabees and you see what he's saying is point blank. You know, they came in and they attacked the law, burnt the books up, and then came with some more, with their knowledge. A flood of information, misinformation. Ain't no symbology in it or esoteric.
And if you consider the book, let's see, Angels and Demons, if you don't know that the Aramaic word demon means Gentile, and that another Aramaic word for Gentile is women.
So see that? So see how she's saying, she's telling you that demon means Gentile. And the man tell you, and then he also told you that in Genesis chapter 10, Japhet's children, these are the isles of the Gentiles. But they didn't told us, or they gave us a definition of what Gentile means. So right there, point blank, like I said, you see that he ain't know his son. When you see what Gentile mean, that tell you right there off the bat he ain't know his son. Because Shem and Noah and Shem ain't no demons. Come on.
Then you won't realize that the title Angels and Demons is actually referring to angels or angels.
See that?
So I'm just wanted to make that little point about that placeholder.
So let's look at that. So when she said that demons mean Gentiles, right? And then they wrote this book and they made the movie Angels and Demons, and demon mean Gentiles. Well, you keep on getting this age-old question. You know, now that we're in these latter days and all this information coming out, they want to know. They know it was giants before the flood, but they want to know why. How would he get giants after the flood? The fallen angels came right back to the Gentiles. The Cain descendants after the flood. That's how you got giants. After the flood, they came. All they do was tracking Cain's descendants. They waited in Genesis chapter 6 till they multiplied. Cain's descendants multiplied. They came down and started sleeping with them. Then and Ham, and then they came in after the flood when they multiplied. They came right back again. Like I said before, that's what the whole the story of Troy and Sparta, the story about the Trojans and the Spartan war with the Trojan horse was all behind a woman, Helena of Troy. She was from Cain's lineage, from the fallen angels, tied to Tubal Cain. And I showed you that how that Tubal Cain and Naamah came from Lamech getting crossed over, and he got daughters from Canaan, one of Adam's sons. And so those girls those women were different than the rest of them, because that was a mix. They was mixed. And so the daughters of Cain were fair. And then he tells you in Genesis chapter 6, they came down and chose all of them. They chose that was fair. So they ain't none Noah's Gentile, ain't none Noah's son. No, ain't no kin of Noah. They Cain descendants.
I read some of the stuff in there. Some people are so shocked by what's inside of it, they actually crack up and laugh when they read it. But I'm telling you, they're not joking. The Most High sentenced the fallen angel to what he said, because of this thing you have done, down to the earth you will go. On your belly you will eat dust all the days of your life. Now, that's esoteric as well, because you know that the Most High said he made us humans from earth or dust. So if he's telling that rebel angel that one of his curses is to be sentenced to eating dust, we think that's true. So let's get to the meat of this little video that I want to share with us. If you've listened to or watched any of my videos, then you know that I sometimes make comments about white people and the thievery of the children of Adam's land territory. Not to mention ours, which is Susan Cole, the Most High granted lands and territories overseas, granted them to us and the white people. They took them, took these lands, and they currently occupy them now. They can claim it to be us. So you heard me mention that in my video. I have another channel called Survive the Madness, and if you haven't subscribed to that, feel free to do so, because I put information on that channel that's more secular. I do talk about scripture though, but not like I do on Israel's Redemption. That channel is more secular. And I do have maybe about 4 videos up there. 3 of them deal with current events, and 1 is actually possible classes. That's something else. But if you want to subscribe to it, please do so. This video right here, I was going to put on Survive the Madness. I tried to upload it to Israel's Redemption. Certain white people send me emails at YouTube, or even message me, send me messages on my blog site, which is flowtribe.blog-pad.com. But anyway, and I've gotten messages from white people about, well, you know, a lot of the lands and territories were bought and purchased and all this garbage. I know how the white men operate. I know, double, triple, quad, however many, they rework their language and basically lie from time to time. I know how they do it. I just know what I decided to do is allow everyone to hear it from the mouth of a white man himself. He's going to tell you exactly how his brothers, how they took the land from the indigenous, from the descendants of Adam, people of Native Americans, Native Australians, how they did it. And that way you won't be able to say, oh, we're just biased. Really? Well, just listen to this. This will give you some insight on the thinking of a white man, children of the angels, how they think, how they've managed to spread themselves out throughout the entire planet like an invasive species, and literally still, either by deception on paper or simply outright murder, how they have managed to take over the entire inhabited earth and take over the descendants of Adam.
He says, oh, by the way, I'm the federal judge of the United States, chief federal judge, and you just committed 47 felonies in front of me. Syntax works except when you file bankruptcy, you are saying, what's in my hand? Nothing. You filed bankruptcy against nothing. Why do you file bankruptcy? You filed bankruptcy because you want to discharge a fact. Bankruptcy takes the nothing and makes it into a fact. Therefore, the fact is taxable. How do you think England captured New Zealand, Australia, India? Is because England figured out way back in the 13th century that if you file bankruptcy against an invasive people, take the Aborigines. They don't speak or read English. They only have picture writing. So in their pictures articulate their land, their treaties, their boundaries, and there's 3,450 Aborigine tribes in Australia. But they got 10,000 gold mines. The country is a virtual mine of gold, silver, lithium, titanium, cobalt. I mean, it's just mineral rich, radiation, radium for plutonium. All of our nuclear submarines are refueled in the northern part of Australia as they go around the world because our treaties with them. Australia is traded on the New York Stock Exchange as a corporate entity. So you want to know about that. The people England went into Australia, genocided up until 1957. They had a bounty on Aborigine people that if you kill them, you got to pay the bounty. Imagine that. England was actually hunting human beings like they do deer and putting a bounty on them. Just like the movie with Tom Selleck. Quigley Down Under. Good movie. The Aborigines were genocided. Then they went ahead and they stole their land. They sold it to the unsuspecting settlers from around the world as they came in as new people. Then as soon as the people bought the land, the government came in and filed bankruptcy on the individual, bankrupting them off the land. Then filed a Title 46, Chapter 781 salvage claim under 2000 Corporation Act, under false and misleading statements, filed bankruptcy against the people, and through the bankruptcy court legalized the taking of the land because now they're saying the nothing contract of seizure was filed in bankruptcy, giving nothing value, retitling it back into the crown and then selling it to the next unsuspecting buyer, now as only a trustee and a caretaker, leaving the jurisdiction of the government in charge of the land and moving the Aborigine people off who couldn't read and write independence. When I showed up, I wrote them a new constitution. I gave them international trade agreements. I gave them the ability in quantum grammar to protect themselves against a world of fiction. So they called me the Spirit Walker, because I came in and prosecuted 129 judges and nobody touched me. Anybody else that ever tried something was killed immediately by the government. But the government wouldn't approach me. The government wouldn't touch me. So the origines, my name got shot all the way across Australia in a matter of days, as we got somebody here that's special.
Okay. So that's we're gonna watch all that. That's how the white man invaded and stole the land from the children of Adam. Okay. Any comments? We already know the story though. So if you want to connect that to the scriptures, let me read this right quick. Because everything is right here in the book. So it says, when the curse came, and in chapter 4, verse 10, and he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brothers cried unto me from the ground, and now thou art cursed from the earth, which have opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, you shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. So we're going to go around. He can't stay in one place. He's going to go from one place to the next, robbing and stealing people's stuff, hoodwinking them and getting it. That's what we just listened to right there, part of it. Okay. Any comments? Okay. I'm gonna read Judges chapter 2 and 3. Okay. Okay. Judges chapter 2. So the reason why I'm reading Judges chapter 2 and 3, I'm gonna show you from what we just dealt with about the Amorites and all that, how this we're gonna see is this firsthand is from getting the information we just got, coming back and reading chapter 2 and 3, it's gonna bring it to bring it more to life. So I'm starting in chapter 1, 34. It says, and the Amorites forced the children of Dan into the mountains, for they would not suffer them to come down to the valley. But the Amorites would dwell in the Mount Heres, in Ajalon, and in Shibit, yet the hand of the house of Joseph prevailed, so that they became tributaries. So it said, and the coast of the Amorites was from the going of Al-Kabelum, from the rock and up. So they didn't get them, they didn't drive them out. They had allowed them to have cities amongst the Danites, these Amorites. So now I'm in chapter 2. It says, and the angel of the Lord came up from Gilead to Beckham, and he said, I made you to go up out of Egypt, and have brought you into the land which I swore unto your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you, and ye shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. You shall throw down their altars, but ye have not obeyed my voice. And why have you done this? So we say it's the inhabitants of the land. We just read it's the Amorites, right? So we're talking about the Amorites. 3. Wherefore I also said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be also be as a thorn in your side, and their gods shall be a snare unto you. That's what we are right now. And it came to pass, when the angel of the Lord spake these words unto all the children of Israel, that the people lifted up their voice and wept. And they called the name of the place Beckham, and they sacrificed there unto the Lord. Right? It says, and when Joseph had let the people go, the children of Israel went every man unto his inheritance to possess the land. And the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders that outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works of the Lord that he did for Israel. It says that Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died, being 110 years old, and they buried him in the borders of his inheritance in Timnath-Heres, in the mount of Ephraim, on the north side of the hill of Gash. And all that generation, notice in Genesis 15, it says 3 generations. It says, and also all that generation were gathered unto their fathers, and also another generation after them which knew not the Lord, nor yet the works which he had done for Israel. So all the people that knew the Lord and knew what he had done, they all died off. It's another generation coming on the scene. Verse 11, and the children of Israel did evil. Now we see why. In the sight of the Lord, and served Balaam. And they forsook the Lord, God of their fathers, which brought them up out of the land of Egypt, and followed other gods, of the gods of the people that were round about them, and bowed themselves unto them, and provoked the Lord to anger. And they forsook the Lord, and served Baal and Ashtoreth. We just read it. So now we know Baal is Baal, Ashtoreth is Baal's wife. They just broke that down to us. Baal and Ashtoreth. See that? Baal got a wife. See that? It says in 14, and the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he delivered them into the hands of spoilers and spoiled them, and he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, so they could not any longer stand before their enemies. Whithersoever they went, out of the hand of the Lord was against them for evil. And the Lord had said, and as the Lord had sworn to them, and they were greatly distressed. Right? Nevertheless, the Lord raised up judges, which delivered them out of the hands of those that spoiled them. And yet they would not hearken to their judges, but they went a horn after other gods, and bowed themselves unto them, and they turned quickly out of the way which their fathers walked, in obeying the commandments, in obeying the commandments of the Lord, but they did not so. And when the Lord raised up judges, then the Lord was with the judge and delivered them out of the hands of their enemies all the days of the judge. For it repented the Lord because their groaning by reason of them that oppressed them and vexed them. And it came to pass when the judge was dead, that they returned and corrupted themselves more than their fathers, in following other gods to serve them and to bow down unto them. They ceased not from their own doings, nor from their stubborn way. And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel. And he said, because that this people have transgressed my covenant, which I commanded their fathers, and have not hearkened unto my voice, I also will not henceforth drive out any from before them of the nations which Joshua left when he died, that through them I may prove Israel whether they will keep the way of the Lord, to walk therein as their fathers did, to keep it or not. Therefore the Lord left those nations without driving them out hastily, neither delivered he them into the hands of Joshua. Okay, so that was chapter 2. So we see right here what happened. A whole other generation came on the scene, and they died off. The generation that came out of Egypt died off. Same thing we saw in Joshua, right before the flood. Most High, all the men that was left, that was righteous, he killed them all right before the flood. He caused them to be gathered into their fathers. Only Shem and Noah was left, and everybody else, he delivered them up. And we see right here, after all the people that came out of Egypt was delivered up and died, that next generation went a horn after the Amorites and their gods, the Canaanites, to the point where he had to raise up judges. Okay.
Hey, Leonard.
Yeah.
The reason they went after them Amorite gods is the older generation didn't destroy them like they was told, right?
They didn't what?
The altars. They didn't destroy their altars, and they didn't obey what the Lord of hosts had told them to do, destroy them.
Right. Yeah, this also Joshua and Caleb and them died. You know, it was he said when they first got there, he told them that he was going to drive those Canaanites out little by little. And that's what Joshua and Caleb and them was doing. But after Joshua and Caleb and them died, they stopped that. They started worshiping their gods instead of driving them out.
Okay, gotcha.
Wow. Okay. Anybody else got anything on that? I'm gonna read chapter 3. Okay. So chapter 3 says, nations left to test Israel. Say now these are the nations which the Lord left to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel as he had not known all the wars of Canaan, only that the generation of the children of Israel might know to teach them war at the least, such as before knew nothing thereof. So what the question you just asked, verse 1 says, now these are the nations which the Lord left to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel as had not known all the wars. See, that's what Moses, Joshua, Caleb, all of them were doing, was fighting, warring with these people, driving them out, little by little. All the wars of Canaan. Then, verse 3, namely, 5 lords of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and all the Zidons, the Havites that dwell in the mountains of Lebanon, from the mount of Baal Hermon unto the entering in of Hamath. And they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Lord, which he had commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, and they took their daughters. Look at this. And they took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their gods. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and forgot the Lord their God, and served Balaam and the groves. Therefore the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he sold him into the hands of Kishon and Kiram, kings of Mesopotamia, and the children of Israel served Kishon and Rishatim 8 years. And when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord raised up a deliverer to the children of Israel who delivered them, even Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he judged Israel, and went out to war. And the Lord delivered Kishkim, king of the Mesopotamians, into his hands, and his hands prevailed against Kishkim. And the land had 40, and the land had rest 40 years. And Onthal, the son of Kenaz, died. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord strengthened Eglon, king of Moab, against Israel, because they had done evil in the sight of the Lord. And he gathered unto him the children of Ammon and Amalek, and went and smote Israel, and possessed the cities of palm trees. So the children of Israel served Eglon, king of Moab, 18 years. But when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord raised them up a deliverer, Ehud, the son of Gera, the Benjamite, a man left-handed. And by him the children of Israel sent a present unto Eglon, king of Moab, and Elah made him a dagger which had 2 edges of a cubit length, and he did gird it under his raiment upon his right thigh. And he brought the presents unto Eglon, king of Moab, and Eglon was a very fat man. And when he had made an end of the offer, to offer the present, he sent away the people that bore the present. But he himself turned again from the quarries that were by the Gilead, and said, I have a secret errand unto thee, O king. Who said, keep silent. And all that stood by him went out from him. And Eglon came unto him, and he was sitting in a summer parlor, which he had for himself alone. Eglon said, I have a message from God unto thee. And he rose up out of his seat, and Ehud put forth his left hand and took the dagger from his right thigh and thrust it into his belly. And the half also went in after the blade, and the fat closed upon the blade, so that he could not draw the dagger out of his belly, and the dirt came out. Then Agag went forth through the porch and shut the doors of the parlor upon him and locked them. And when he was gone out, the servants came in. When they saw that, behold, the doors of the parlor were locked, they said, surely he covered his feet in the summer chamber. And they tarried all till they were ashamed. And behold, he opened not the doors of the parlor. Therefore they took a key and opened them, and behold, their Lord was fallen down dead on the earth. And he had escaped while they tarried, and passed beyond the quarries, and escaped into Surat. And it came to pass when he was come, he come that he blew a trumpet in the mountains of Ephraim, and the children of Israel went down with him from the mount, and he brought them, and he said unto them, fall after me, for the Lord hath delivered your enemies, the Moabites, in your hand. And they went down after him and took the fords of Jordan toward Moab, and suffered not a man to pass over. And they slew of the Moabites at that time about 10,000 men, all lusty and all men of valor, and there escaped not a man. So the Moab was subdued that day under the hands of Israel, and the land had rest 80 years. And then it says, Shemagah delivered Israel, and after him was Shemagah the son of Enoch, which slew of the Philistines 600 men with an ox goad, and he also delivered Israel. Okay, so that was Judges chapter 3. Any comments on that? What I read? Questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Verse 6 and 7 sound like what we doing today right here in America.
Chapter 7.
Daughters. No,
Oh,
verse.
Right. Yeah, chapter 3.
6. Yeah.
Okay.
Verse 6 and 7. You know, we marrying their daughters, their sons, and
Right.
worshiping their gods.
Right. And we be doing that over and over again. That's the same thing in Ezra. Remember when Ezra came back from Babylon?
Right.
They was doing the same thing. Now we right in the midst of it again, right now. That's what we're doing right now as we speak. And notice what it says in verse 7. They forgot the Lord their God and served Balaam. That's the God of the Amorites. Right. Okay. So yeah, anybody got any comments or questions about anything before we close out? Something they want to talk about?
Can you explain to me the difference between Catholic and Christian? Is it not the same thing?
Yeah, they got the when they say the mother of harlots, the Catholic Church is the mother, and then you got Catholic, you got Christianity, which it consists of all these other dimensions, all these other denominations that branches off of it, like Baptists, Protestants, Lutheran, all them is daughters, and Catholicism is the mother.
Gotcha.
Right. And so that's another thing that people not understanding about that too. When he talks about the full beast, like I said, ain't no five beasts, it's 4 beasts. And so all that they done, we still dealing with it. All that Constantine them done, all that the Roman Catholic Church did when they set up the system that we in right now, we still dealing with it. So when he says a stone, that's the stone that came at the end in Daniel chapter 2, the stone that came and hit the image at the feet, and the whole thing crumbled down. That's what they did at the Continental Seal. We still dealing with that. When the stone comes and hit the image at the feet, and it all crumbled down, that's what all of that's when we'll be through with all the stuff that Constantine set up. And it says that the saints of the Most High are gonna take the king. Go ahead.
So ALLAH and JC, they all that's Amorites, right? I mean,
Right. Just like I was like, you got Esau and the major tribe that for Esau is Amalek, and then the major tribe for Israel is Judah. Well, out of them 7 nations, it's the Amorites. When they came into the land, those 7 nations that was there, they had adhered to the Amorites. The Amorites was a lead nation out of all the 7 of those nations. Okay. Anybody else got anything they want to bring up or discuss before we go? Okay.
Hey, I got one more thing.
Okay.
Them black, that video, them babies with the black eyes.
Right.
Man, you got your apocrypha? Or you close it up?
No, I got it right here.
Could you read 2nd Ezra 5 and 8?
2nd Ezra. Five and 8. It says, and there will be. It says that there will be darkness in many places, and fire will often break out, and wild animals will go outside their hunts, and women in their uncleanness will bear monsters, and salt waters will be found in the sweet, and all the friends will conquer one another, and intelligence will hide itself, and understanding retire to his room, and it will be sought by many and will not be found, and unrighteousness and lack of self-control will increase on the earth.
Yeah, that part, unclean women would bear monsters.
Right.
That reminds me of that, them black-eyed babies. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah, I was looking at some videos on that this morning about the black-eyed babies. Yeah. Was there some? Yeah. I mean, they ain't just started though. They've been dealing with. I was seeing what they was dealing with. That was coming up on Facebook, on YouTube back in like 2003 and 4 about these people saying that these black-eyed children was coming up to their door, knocking on their door, and then when you come to the door, they have a hood on with their head down. You can't really see their eyes, and then when the person opens the doors, they raise their head up, and then they can see their eyes, and they was telling them don't look at them in the eye, because they'll hypnotize you. So see, just once you realize what you're dealing with, just close the door, lock the door, because they can't come in unless you invite them in. So that tell me that's demonic, demons.
Definitely.
Right. Okay. So everybody good?
All good.
Okay. Here we go. Yeah. Shalom. Oh, I see everybody. See the women tomorrow for the women's line, and see everybody else on Friday for at 8 o'clock. Shalom. Okay.